So you mentioned that when you write, say that, you know, I don't want to be connected with you anymore. And even then, when a person keeps writing to you, could somewhere down the line seem like they're stalking. So I think my question is, and a lot of people come to us with this concern as well, that, you know, every day we receive this message on, say, Messenger or a WhatsApp, which only says good morning or a hi, or just an emoticon with, you know, say a smiley face or something like that, and there is no response, there's complete silence. So when you actually see the messages, there's only one way messages, one way traffic, if I can say, and there are only constant highs and hellos coming from one side. Now my question is that, is this kind of a silence also enough to suggest that the other person is harassing, bullying, or stalking, or the person who's on the receiving end must necessarily say that I do not want to be in touch with you?
Very pertinent question. Thank you for that. And yes, you're right. Even silence is enough to indicate that the person does not want. You know, however, if you intend to prosecute, that is the stage where this issue may arise, that at no point of time did this person say that they don't want to be bothered or to be communicated with, etc. So here it becomes a catch situation. On one hand, the standard thing we advise people to do is to not respond to messages like this. Because the first thing is that with the minute you reply to a message, the other person will know that this is a live number. Two, in terms of the manner in which a reply goes, they will also be able to figure out who is answering or how it is coming, etc. So instead of it resulting in the harassment stopping, it may actually get aggravated. This is not a case I have done, but I read about it from one of my friends' blogs, where they talked about the stalker who's actually just stalking one girl in a workspace. She's with an NGO. Now, when she blocks him and she refuses, so that's the next technology-enabled solution, is to just block a person like that. That way, at least you don't get messages from that person unnecessarily. Good mornings and things also can be blocked and stopped. Now, when he is unable to get through to this girl, he somehow finds from online spaces the phone numbers of her colleagues. And then he starts reaching out through the colleagues. So one by one, as each person blocks him, he will try out another and all that. So finally, when the police complaint is given, and they take several months to take action, the action doesn't happen immediately. They take several months to take action. And finally, when he's apprehended and he's asked why was he doing this, his reply appears to be that initially he was only interested in connecting again with this girl who was blocking him. But thereafter, he started enjoying this harassment. He said that he felt very powerful. Yeah? So this is the other thing we need to know and understand, that all our actions actually has a reaction from the other side. So when we keep quiet, they may treat it as acquiescence. If we answer, there is no certainty that they will stop. They will just maybe think, oh good, at least I can keep prodding and getting answers. Even when it is a negative answer, it may be something which they get excited about. So technology-enabled solution here will be to block such persons. And legal solution will be to file a complaint depending on who is the offender. So if the offender is in a corporate setup, then you can invoke the company policies for it. If it is, like I mentioned in the earlier case, an educational institution, you can use the institution for remedies. You don't always have to rush to police, is what I'm trying to say. And at some stage where it does become harassing, then you can go to the police. You don't assume that in every case police will take action. And also, secondly, do not assume that in every case they have to register an FIR. Not registering FIR for the uninitiated, the first information report. In every case, police do not have to register the first information report, but they have to at least take up the complaint for preliminary inquiry if it makes out a cognizable offense. Again, decoding this word cognizable, it literally just means a complaint which a police can take note of and start investigation. That's all. So when it reflects that, then they have to take some action. They can't just register something called as NC. NC is for non-cognizable case, which just means they have just noted down, you've given a complaint and returned it to you, saying if you want, you go to court. Because the minute an NC complaint is registered, your only remedy is to go to court. You have to go file a private complaint before the magistrate. So that is not going to help you. So that is when you will have to really stand your ground. But if the police say, no, we will investigate, they call this person from the number from where these messages are coming. They call that person in for an inquiry to see why these messages are being sent. Then that is still good action that is being taken. The reason I'm mentioning this is many times I notice because of their anxiety, victims also lose their cool. They have to understand the police also are there to do their work. And they have to cooperate with the police. They have to be polite and firm. They don't have to be rude, or intemperate. So this is the balance I would request victims also to take. I have worked from both sides. For the better part of my life, I've been a defense lawyer. I'm fully aware of all the issues and concerns and problems that victims face till date, and even getting the first level of an audience with the police properly, getting their case registered, etc. But that's no reason for losing your cool. When you maintain your cool, when you're polite yet firm, you can actually get a lot more done, rather than being rude or intemperate or threatening them, etc. So that's just one thing. And again, on this, going back to the Prajwala case, one of the most important issues that came out of Prajwala was, or I would say development. There were two sets of consensus proposals that happened. One set of it was for government to do, and other set for content hosting platforms. So we talked a little bit about some of the things that came out for content hosting platforms. The most important development that came from the government side was, initially a portal was set up for taking online registration of complaints. So you could file your complaint with respect to a cyber crime online when it pertains to women and children. I said initially because though the portal was only for women and children to begin with, today you can register any cybercrime complaint online. Please go to cybercrime.gov.in. That's all. It's as simple as that. And you can give your complaint. They will ask you to choose which police station, etc. But even if you choose wrong, it is the responsibility of the portal, which is under the aegis of the Ministry of Home Affairs. It is their responsibility to ensure that it works properly. It is allocated to the correct police station and that action is taken on it. So the advantage you get is, one, you don't have to run from pillar to post. You don't have to worry which police station, which jurisdiction, etc. And three, sitting in your house, you can file your complaint. But thereafter, the investigation, etc., will require your presence, your statement to be recorded, etc. But at least the first level where you were otherwise struggling has been taken care of. And especially when we are talking about these kind of cases, we also talked about the discomfort that victims have of talking about sexual innuendo or, their recordings getting exposed and things like that. When you are able to file the complaint online, you can do it with a lot more ease. That sense of fear that you have of talking about something so sensitive goes away. So this was a huge development that we were able to again get through consensus proposals. So do utilize this opportunity.
I think this is a fantastic point, and I have a follow-up question on this, though, that you mentioned that it started with women and children, but it also now has expanded and evolved over time. So in your experience, have you also come across any sort of cyber crimes that have been experienced by other genders, say by men or by transgender persons or any other persons?
Completely. In fact, many, people assume that somehow men are not particular about their privacy. Why would they not be? Why would they want their nude photographs or morphed photographs to be bandied about? Right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Or for that matter, you can morph pictures also into creating some kind of fake relationships. So many instances. So one of the things when you were asking about the trends in cybercrime, I also wanted to point out, maybe I'll bring that in terms of the question that you've asked now also. Matrimonial sites. Very, very scary, you know. It serves such an important purpose, particularly in a socioeconomic milieu like India. But you have to exercise the same level of due diligence and care as you would when you are reaching out physically. When people were trying to reach out for matrimonial alliances, what would they do? First, they will only go by word of mouth references. And even with word of mouth references, they will go meet the families, then inquire around neighborhoods, etc., to find out the credibility and the kind of person the somebody is, etc. Despite that, marriages may go bad, etc. That's fine. But the really scary kind of cases I've come across are utilization of matrimonial sites for frauds. So there are instances where a much married person with children will put up as if he's looking for a bride. And then he'll string along the girl. As you said, initially just a friendly relationship will develop into a physical relationship also. So in many cases, I've seen that the affairs will go on for many years also. And then the girl will find out that he's much married. And, you know, once she finds out also, then it becomes, you've already invested in the relationship. So you're caught between a rock and a hard place because you don't know whether you should trust this person when he then lies saying, no, but I am getting out of the relationship, I applied for divorce, etc. Or do you just sever ties, right? So this is all, I've seen so many of these kind of cases, handled so many very complicated issues and all that. And in this, if you think only men are predators and women are victims, sadly mistaken. It could go both ways, you know. So a girl also could be putting up these kind of ads, and then it will encourage an affair, and then, you know, a lot of recordings are made, and then the male is threatened for recovery of money. So the minute a money claim is made, substantially you will be able to fix the modus. And also when you look at the historical part of it, if other people have fallen victim and all. So in one case, only after investigation, because initially, you know, when you go to give complaints like this, police won't even believe you when you say the man is the victim. It becomes, if you think it's difficult for women to file complaints, it's 10 times more difficult for men to do.
Absolutely. And often nobody refers to this. So I'm glad that you're saying this.
Yeah. So men can be victims in many, many cases.
Yeah.
So anyway, so these are, so then the minute we said, okay, at least just start the inquiry, you will probably come to know the truth then. And then when they did the inquiry, they started reaching out to a lot, you know, they took the history in terms of the social media sites and then reached out to those persons, and they found out more than 20 victims like that. That's when they realized this is the modus. So you will have to actually establish a trend to show this is how these things happen. So extortion or blackmail is not really limited only to women. Women are softer targets. Men predominantly are less of a risk factor for them. So therefore they are targets, they are victims, but they may not always succumb to blackmail. The persons who are most vulnerable actually are transgender and the LGBTQ++ community. Especially before the strike down of 377, there were so many cases where, you know, consensual photographs will be abused. It always happens, you know, whatever gender you are, whatever the kind of relationship it may be, the minute it breaks, it just gets very nasty. So I'm not saying that when you're in a relationship, you're supposed to evaluate each and every action that you do. But at least when the relationship breaks, take certain cyber hygiene hints, you know, be careful and protect yourself. Again, a lot of this I've covered in FAQs and all that in cybersathi.org. So people who want more information can go over there and look up. So what I've done is I've tried to share it in terms of FAQs and then a little bit more in storytelling format in terms of articles, etc. So you'll find a lot of content about all these trends of cyber crimes on cybersathi.org.
Great. I think since you're mentioning this, I must also say that in case any of the viewers who are watching this, if you have any questions or queries, you can also visit this website, cybersathi.org, and put down your questions there, and AMS team will respond to you also. So that's also an option.
Absolutely. And for victims, the first level response is pro bono. So we don't charge for that. The whole intent and purpose of the site was to create an online helpline for victims so that they at least understand their remedies and do take action. Whatever decision they take afterwards, they take it with eyes wide open. So.
Absolutely.